You wake up. You didn't work late. You didn't go to the gym. You didn't do anything particularly hard. And yet you feel drained. Not sleepy. Not bored. Just heavy. Like your mind ran a marathon while your body stayed in bed. So here's the uncomfortable question. If you did nothing, why does it feel like everything inside you is collapsing anyway? I have a theory that will change how you look at your fatigue. Your exhaustion has almost nothing to do with what you did. It has everything to do with what was happening inside you while you were doing nothing. Stay with me until the end. Today, we're not just breaking down this exhaustion. I'm going to give you a specific off-switch protocol to help your nervous system finally stop running. And at the very end, I'll reveal the one psychological reason why your brain might actually be afraid of resting. Once you see it, the cycle finally breaks. Welcome to Mind Beneath. This channel isn't about productivity tips or fix your life in 5 steps. It's about the psychological systems running quietly underneath your everyday experience, especially the ones you never think to question. Today, we're breaking down something deceptively simple. Why doing nothing doesn't actually feel like rest anymore. And fair warning, by the end of this video, you might realize you've been exhausted for reasons you never considered. Let's start with a lie your brain believes. When you say, "I did nothing today," you assume your mind was idle, but your brain is never idle. Even in silence, it's processing unfinished conversations, social comparisons, guilt about what you should be doing, replayed memories. Imagine futures you're worried about. So while your body rests, your mind is doing something far more draining, running invisible simulations of your entire life. And the worst part? You don't notice it happening because there is no external action to validate your fatigue. So your brain says, "You did nothing. Why are you tired?" But that question is based on a misunderstanding because you didn't do nothing. You just did everything internally. There's a psychological phenomenon we'll call background noise cognition. It's the constant mental chatter that never fully shuts off. You should reply to that message. You're falling behind. Everyone else is doing better. Don't forget this thing. Even when you're resting, this system keeps running like an app, draining your battery in the background. And here's the key insight. Your exhaustion is not caused by intensity. It's caused by duration. A stressful hour is manageable. But low-level stress running for 12 hours straight, that destroys you. It's like a computer fan that never stops spinning, even if the screen looks off. And most people never realize this is happening. They think they're resting, but their nervous system is still online, still scanning, still alert, still slightly threatened. Now here's where it gets darker. For many people, doing nothing doesn't feel peaceful. It feels unsafe, because when external distractions disappear, something else shows up. You, your thoughts, your regrets, your unresolved emotions, and your brain, which is designed to keep you functioning, often interprets that silence as a threat. So what do? You reach for your phone. You open a tab. You scroll. You check something real quick. Not because you're addicted to distraction, but because distraction is regulation. It lowers internal noise. So when you finally do nothing, your mind doesn't rest. It amplifies everything you've been avoiding, and that amplification is exhausting. But here's the strange twist. Some people can do nothing and feel completely fine. No fatigue, no heaviness, no mental collapse. So what's the difference? Why do some minds collapse in silence while others recover? We'll get there, but first, we need to understand something more uncomfortable. A huge part of your exhaustion isn't mental activity. It's mental judgment. Even while resting, you might be thinking, "I shouldn't be doing this. I'm wasting time. I'm falling behind." So now you're not just resting. You're resting while criticizing your rest. That creates a loop. Rest, guilt, tension, more exhaustion, more guilt. And this loop is invisible because it feels like just thoughts. But psychologically, it behaves like constant microstress. And microstress accumulates, quietly, relentlessly, until even doing nothing feels like something you're failing at. Here's a counterintuitive truth. Your brain often prefers stressful stimulation over quiet emptiness. Why? Because stimulation is predictable. Even if it's overwhelming, it gives structure. But silence forces uncertainty. And uncertainty is where unresolved emotions surface. So your brain chooses scrolling over reflection, noise over stillness, distraction over emotional exposure. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system is trying to avoid internal overload. So doing nothing isn't neutral. It's confrontational. And your exhaustion is often the cause of that confrontation. But here's the part nobody expects. This exhaustion is not a flaw. It's information. It tells you something very specific about your internal load. The question is, are you listening? Let's bring it together. You feel exhausted doing nothing because your mind never stops running background processes. Your nervous system stays slightly activated. Silence increases internal awareness, not rest. You add guilt on top of rest. And distraction has been acting as emotional regulation. So the real issue isn't doing nothing. It's that you have no true mental off switch. And without an off switch, rest becomes just another form of low-intensity stress. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. You're not actually looking for rest. You're looking for relief. And those are not the same thing. Rest is stillness. Relief is escape. And if your rest still feels exhausting, it might be because your mind has forgotten how to be still without escaping itself. Now, you know why you feel exhausted doing nothing. But that leaves us with a bigger question. What are you actually supposed to do about it? The first thing you need to understand is this. You cannot heal exhaustion with more stimulation, even positive stimulation. Most people wake up and immediately consume something. Phone, music, notifications, videos, podcasts. The brain never gets a transition into consciousness. It goes from unconsciousness straight into input. And the problem isn't just the amount of stimulation. It's the absence of recovery. Your nervous system needs moments where nothing is demanding your attention. Not entertainment, not optimization, not dopamine, just mental space. And if your brain never gets that space, it slowly forgets how to regulate itself naturally. That's why the first solution sounds deceptively simple. Create empty moments, not productive moments, not mindful moments for Instagram, just empty ones. No scrolling while eating, no video during every quiet second, no constant background noise. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is important because it reveals how dependent your brain became on constant stimulation just to avoid itself. And if you're watching this while simultaneously scrolling another app, that's probably not an accident. Pause for a second and ask yourself, when was the last time your mind experienced actual silence? Comment it below. I'm genuinely curious how many people realize they almost never do. One of the biggest psychological traps is this idea that rest must be earned, that you only deserve peace after suffering enough. So even when you rest, part of your brain says, you haven't done enough yet, and that creates invisible tension. The solution is subtle but powerful. Stop treating rest like a transaction, because real rest is preventative maintenance, not compensation for damage. Think about sleep. You don't earn sleep by being productive enough. Your brain biologically requires recovery before collapse happens. Mental rest works the same way. If you only allow yourself peace after burnout, your nervous system never exits survival mode, and survival mode is exhausting. Here's something strange. A lot of people think exhaustion exists only in the mind, but your body remembers stress too. Shallow breathing, jaw tension, constant screen focus, poor sleep rhythms. Your nervous system can become physically trapped in alertness, which means you can lie in bed all day and still never feel recovered, because rest is not the same as regulation. So here's something that actually helps. Walking without stimulation, stretching slowly, breathing deeper than usual, sleeping consistently, getting sunlight early in the day. Not because these are magical life hacks, but because they send your nervous system one critical message. You are not in danger right now. And many exhausted people rarely feel that message anymore. But there's another layer to this that's harder to admit. Sometimes exhaustion becomes part of your identity, and that changes everything. If you've been anxious, overwhelmed, or emotionally overloaded for years, calm can start feeling unfamiliar, even wrong. Some people become so adapted to internal chaos that peace feels empty. So when life slows down, the brain unconsciously recreates stress, overthinking, doom scrolling, catastrophizing, self-pressure, because tension became psychologically familiar. And familiar feels safe, even when it hurts. This is why recovery can feel weird at first. Your nervous system isn't just learning how to rest. It's learning how to exist without constant emotional noise. And that takes time. A lot of exhausted people secretly believe they need a complete life transformation before they can feel okay. New routine, new body, new career, new personality. But usually, exhaustion improves through smaller changes repeated consistently, not dramatic reinventions. The goal is not becoming perfectly peaceful. The goal is reducing unnecessary internal friction. A little less guilt, a little more silence, a little less stimulation, a little more physical regulation. Tiny reductions in mental overload compound over time. And eventually, your brain starts doing something it forgot how to do: recover. You do not need to become more disciplined to heal this exhaustion. You need to become more aware of what continuously drains you. Because many people are not tired from work. They're tired from emotional suppression, constant comparison, never feeling enough, overstimulation, internal pressure, and none of those disappear through productivity. Sometimes healing starts when you stop attacking yourself for being tired in the first place. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this: your exhaustion is not proof that you are lazy. Sometimes it's proof that your mind has been overloaded for too long without true recovery. And recovery is not instant. It's a process of teaching your nervous system. Silence is safe. Rest is allowed. Stillness is not failure. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you don't need to earn the right to breathe. So let's make this painfully simple. If you want to stop feeling exhausted by doing nothing, you don't need to completely rebuild your life overnight. You need to reduce the invisible pressure constantly running in the background. Here's where to start. Spend at least a few minutes every day without stimulation. No scrolling, no music, no content, just silence. Stop treating rest like something you have to earn. Recovery is a necessity, not a reward for productivity. Notice what drains you mentally, not just work, but comparison, guilt, overthinking, people-pleasing, constant self-pressure. Let your body feel safe again. Sleep consistently. Move slowly sometimes. Breathe deeper. Go outside. Your nervous system responds to physical signals more than you think. And most importantly, stop attacking yourself for being tired, because fighting your exhaustion creates even more exhaustion. The goal is not to force yourself into becoming endlessly productive. The goal is to create a mind that no longer feels under attack all the time. And that doesn't happen through pressure. It happens through awareness, repeated gently over time. That's how exhaustion slowly stops feeling like your permanent state. If this video helped you understand your exhaustion differently, subscribe to Mind Beneath, because this channel isn't about becoming perfect. It's about understanding the hidden psychological patterns shaping your everyday life. See you in the next video.